Hello and welcome to a tutorial video on Kiko's knitting podcast. Today I want to show you how to knit a pair of socks with Estonian spiral pattern. As usual, I've already prepared the first one, and here you can see the Estonian spiral pattern. You can use that for other things than socks. I knit a child's size. And the pattern is really easy to do once you know how to do it. And that's what I'm going to show you. The rest of the sock I knit exactly like the other socks in the months before, with a short row heel and a star toe. So today I'm not going to knit the whole sock, because this time I'm only using one strand of fingering weight yarn, and it would just take too long to do the whole sock in front of the camera. So today I will just show you how to knit the pattern in the leg. And I started straight into the pattern, and I'll show you now. I'm using this very colorful opal sock yarn out of the series Wirbelwind, which I think is it Whirlwind? And I started by casting on 42 stitches, and that's the first thing I want to talk about and explain to you. I usually, for baby socks with fingering weight yarn, I use 36 stitches. And the foot of the sock is knit, the heel, the foot and the toe are knit on over 36 stitches, but for the leg I use 42 stitches. Because the spiral pattern is not just a really nice pattern, and it breaks up the color stripes, but it does make things a bit tighter. And to be sure that the sock isn't too tight, and that the foot can actually go through, I think it's good to start with more stitches than you're going to need for the rest of your sock. The pattern, I'm not quite sure why it's called Estonian spiral pattern, but that's the name that you can find it on Ravelry. I'm not really sure it's from Estonia, but I called it this so that you would find the pattern on Ravelry. And there you can read the pattern in case you would like to have something to read. Otherwise, it's really very simple. All you do is knit two, yarn over, knit two together. And you keep repeating this for the whole round, for every round. You could do a round of knit in between, but then it'll be less of a spiral. But if you think about knit two, yarn over, knit two together, there's 3 times 2 stitches, so you have to have a number divisible by 6. And that's a bit unusual because usually for socks you go with stitch numbers that are divisible by 4, so that you can divide the numbers of stitches on your needles. Now let's see how many stitches I have. 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 42. I cast on too many stitches, so let's get rid of the ones that are too many. And I'll just keep the 42 stitches that I wanted. And I will start with the pattern straight away from the very beginning. And you know that I don't knit in the round for the first round, but I always knit the stitches off the needle like this. And while knitting the first round, I will separate the stitches onto different needles. And I'm going to show you how this pattern works. But before I start with that, let me just quickly say, because you keep doing yarn overs and knit two togethers, it's good to have a complete pattern repeat on the needle. So you can have 6 or 12 or 18 or even 24 stitches on every needle. So with 42, that's 7 times 6. And I want to divide them onto 3 needles. So I will have 2 needles with 2 pattern repeats, and then 1 needle with 3 pattern repeats, so that I have whole pattern repeats on the needle. So I'll start with knit 2, I do a yarn over, and then again knit 2, and then Yeah, be careful not to knit two together after the yarn over, because that's what you do with many lace patterns. But you always have to have knit two in between. And now you do knit two together. And that's a whole pattern repeat. And that's again 6 stitches. Because of the yarn over and the knit two together, I'm back to 6 stitches. So let's do it again. Knit one, knit the second one, do a yarn over. Again, knit two. And after that, you do knit two together by going through 2 stitches at once, and then pull the yarn through. And now I have 12 stitches for my first needle, and I'll get the next needle, and that's the one where I want to have 3 pattern repeats. So I knit two, yarn over, knit two again, and then knit two together. That was the first pattern repeat. Knit two, yarn over, knit two, and knit two together. That's the second pattern repeat. And number 3, 1, 2, yarn over, knit two. Make sure you don't knit two together yet. Now knit two together. And that's 3 pattern repeats on that needle. And now I grab the last needle, knit two, yarn over, knit two together, and I should have 6 stitches left. Let's see, knit one, knit the second, yarn over, knit two, and there are only 2 stitches left, so I knit them together. I had the right number of stitches, and make sure that you have a number that's divisible by 6, and do use a few more stitches than you would usually do for your size to make sure it's big enough. And it has to be 42, not 44, because it's more important to have a number that's divisible by 6. I will later go down to 36, which is a number that's divisible by 6 and 4, so that's a good number. But I'll go back into the pattern right now. Round 2, knit 2, yarn over. I knit the yarn over of the first round, and then I knit the second stitch, and now I have to knit 2 together. And the second stitch of those 2 stitches that I knit together is the one where I did the knit 2 together the round before. So the decreases will always sit on top of each other, and that's how you get this nice line. Then you knit 2, yarn over. You knit the yarn over, knit a second stitch, and then knit 2 together. And sometimes you forget to make a yarn over, or you lose it. And then you will notice, because when you get to the end of your, also at the beginning, the first stitch after yarn over has to be a yarn over from the round before. So if there's no yarn over there, you have to make one. So next round I will drop a yarn over just to show how to pick that up. But now you can also see that the end of the needle, you always have to have 2 stitches to knit together. So if there's a stitch missing there, maybe you missed a yarn over. Now the third needle, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 together, and again knit 2, yarn over, knit 2, and knit 2 together. And I finished the second round. Now this is the one thread that holds everything together. In case you had you were knitting a Mobius because there was something not straight, now you could still turn it right. But with me, everything is correct, so I don't have to fix anything. Now, if I want to mark my first needle, maybe for later, you can put a stitch marker in between the first 2 stitches. That's what I usually do if I knit on double pointed needles. But it's also very good with this pattern, because the first 2 stitches are always knit. They're never knit together. There's no yarn over there. So it's a very good spot to have the stitch marker. So after the 2 stitches, I'll do the yarn over. I see that I'm knitting the yarn over of the round below, knit 2 and knit 2 together. So now I knit 2 stitches and I pretend to have dropped my yarn over or maybe forgotten the yarn over. So I will now make a yarn over, and if I knit those 2 stitches, I don't have 2 stitches left. So I know something went wrong. So I go back the 2 stitches and check if there was, I almost dropped that yarn over, so but I'll put that back on the needle. So if you drop a yarn over, it's just the piece of thread that goes from the last stitch to the next stitch. And because my stitch is green, I know it has to be a piece of green yarn, and I just put this strand of yarn onto my left needle and make sure that the right leg is to the front so that I do get the hole that I want to have. It's not a typical lace pattern because it doesn't look very lacy, but we sort of do knit holes. You could probably knit it through the back loop, but it wouldn't make a big difference, and I don't think it's worth the effort. So now I've knit another pattern repeat. You can see that the decreases all stack on top of each other very nicely. Knit 2, yarn over, knit 2, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 and knit 2 together. And as I said before, you just keep repeating that for the whole leg. I did not knit the pattern in the foot because of the spiral. It's difficult or impossible to just have the pattern on the top of the foot. You probably could do it, but it would be a bit difficult if you wanted to have the sole in stockinette and the top of the foot in the pattern. What you could do is do the whole foot, top and bottom, in the pattern. Then it doesn't matter that it's spiraling like this. Then you could have the pattern in the foot, but then I would stay with the bigger number of stitches. Now I said that I started with 42 stitches and I want to keep knitting with 36 stitches. So I have 1 pattern repeat more than I want to have later. So with smaller sizes, I'm pretty sure it's enough to have 1 pattern repeat more. If you have a big size, maybe you would want to do 2 pattern repeats more for the leg and then decrease the stitches before you knit the heel and the foot. You could do a gauge swatch to find out, but on the other hand, you can just cast on and knit a few centimeters. And if it's not big enough, you can start over or knit a smaller size and give it to somebody else. So that's what I would do. And even if you had to rip it out, it's not too bad because there aren't that many stitches in a sock usually. Now, before you try it on and try to measure it, you have to make sure that you knit enough rounds to really have the pattern start to spiral. If you only knit like 2-3 rounds, it's not really spiraling a lot yet, so it might seem big enough. But if you knit like 10 rounds, you will notice that the spiral is a lot more pronounced and that everything gets a bit tighter. So do try things on as often as possible. If you knit with magic loop and a long circular needle, it's really easy. With double pointed needle, it's sometimes a bit uncomfortable because the needles are quite straight, but usually you can do that. You can make it happen. Only if you use a tiny circular needle, then you have to put the stitches either on a thread or a long needle to be able to try it on, because the tiny circulars you can't get a foot or a heel through. Now, once I finish the leg of the foot, which I won't do in front of the camera, I knit quite a few rounds for the first sock. So I will then decrease to the number of stitches I want to have for the foot. There are several ways of getting the number of stitches down. The easiest way would be to knit one round and then do 6 decreases spaced evenly. You could just do them anywhere. But what I like to do with a pattern like this is I have 7 pattern repeats, so and I want to do 6 decreases. So with 6 of my 7 pattern repeats, I will not do the yarn over in those pattern repeats, but I will do the decrease at the same spot as I usually did them. And only at one spot, probably in the middle of the sock, I will actually do a yarn over so that I only decrease 6 stitches and not 7 stitches. So I think that's the easiest and most elegant way to go down to the number of stitches that you want. So that is what I'm going to do as soon as I finish this leg. Now I've only used this pattern for socks, but you could use it for many other things. For example, for arm warmers, you could knit a hat like this or a loop scarf. You could even do a pullover, the sleeves on a pullover, leg warmers. That's all I can think. Or you could do a mug cozy, a mug hug with that pattern. But I think that's the only things I can think of off the top of my head. As I said, the pattern is made by increasing and decreasing, so the yarn overs and the knit two togethers. Whenever you increase and decrease stitches at the same spot, the stitches won't go straight anymore. They will slant to one side. So if you have a pattern with a few normal stitches and a few decreases, then the stitches will slant this way or that way. So here you can see the stitches going slanting to the right, and the increases sort of slant to the left, but they get eaten up by the decreases so quickly that you can't really see them. And the zigzag that you see, you can also see at the edge here. So if you have color stripes in your yarn, they get broken up through all the increases and decreases, and that's why you get these like little squares almost, depending on how wide your stripes are. And because that sort of pulls together, you don't really see the increases, you don't see the yarn overs and the stitches going the other way. I think that's all you need to know. Knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 together. That's all you need to remember. And you can knit the leg as long as you like. With my socks, I have the colors in different ways, except for the pink, that seems to be the same. In my normal videos, I will show the finished socks. In the last pattern round, I omitted 6 of the yarn overs, so I went down to 36 stitches. I did the short row heel over half the stitches. The pink are the 2 rounds that I did in between the 2 halves of the heel. And then I knit the foot straight in stockinette. And I did another start toe on 3 needles so that I had 6 spots where I decreased. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And with the number of stitches you have here with the 36 stitches, you could do the decreases at 8 spots instead of 6. Then it would be a bit shorter, but that's up to you. You can do it any way you like. So with 3 needles you have 12 stitches. So and with 4 needles you'd have 9 stitches. Yeah, so I really like this little sock, and I'm looking forward to knitting a sock, a big size sock, a grown-up size sock with you. And I will now just finish this sock off camera. And if you look at the normal podcast videos that I do, I am going to show the finished baby socks, and then later I will show my grown-up socks. I hope you understood what I was trying to explain, and maybe you would like to knit a pair of socks with this Estonian spiral pattern, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!